GariTalks. Try as you may, try as hard as we want, we will never be able to undo the past. Like, even as much work as I do, I call it memory work, where I go back in time and talk to my inner child and hold myself, or just to go back to, not even my inner child, sometimes it's just like, a month ago, and go to hold myself and be with myself and kind of like, almost like tie up that timeline and like do a little cycle of healing, right? Even when I do that, did you notice that I didn't actually change the event? I can't go back in time and be uninsulted, be unassaulted, be unbeaten, like unhear the things that I've already heard, unseen the things I've seen, unexperienced the things I've experienced. It's impossible. It's impossible. If you watch any movie, they be showing anytime you go to the past, first of all, it doesn't happen. But then if you are successfully able to, there's always a paradox. And the paradox is because you, in the matter that you are now, you exist in this plane and you're trying to go back to another plane where you already existed, right? So now there's two of you as a copy. So what's going to happen is one of you has to die, right? One of it has to go. And so say it is the past you that goes, now it's the current you that's there. It's just messed up you messed up all the time. Everything that you did to become who you are right now is lost when you lose the past person. And it's not to say we can't lay those things to rest, right? Like, let the people who are suffering, let your inner child who's suffering be resting. Like, go and soothe them. And also, we can't change the things that happen. We cannot change the things that happen. We have no clue that if we were to change the thing that happened, we would be here. Example. My mom lived a very, very challenging life. Okay? My mom has been through so much pain and suffering in her life. And I'm also a firm believer that is exactly why she is the gritty, resilient warrior that she is. It's a huge reason as to why I was born. She literally told me, if it wasn't for your companionship, I would have never made it. Right? Which is, for me, a lot of pressure, right? At the time, as a child, of knowing that this is how my mom was leaning on me, right? So, for instance, her telling me that, I could want to change that, right? Go to the past and be like, I wish you never did that. Or like, I wish you were different from that. Like, I wish I didn't grow up with so much pressure. And also, that is what I believe taught me to hold space for people. Obviously, like, I've done it to a fault at moments, but also, as I'm doing now, learning to moderate it, right? Learning to tap into it and use it as a gift, not as a default, like, this is just what I do, absorb everybody's stuff and make sense of it for everybody. Instead of doing that, but being intentional and conscious with it, now I can use this as a gift. I can use it as a skill. Instead of going back, I wish my mom never said that. I wish my mom never did this. I wish my grandpa never abused my mom. I very well could never have existed. And it's so crazy to really think about this. Like, I think about this with Hitler a lot. People are like, if I could go back in time, I'd kill him and there would be no Holocaust. I want to say yes, right? Because who wants the Holocaust? I mean, I would hope, nobody would be like, yes, I don't want the Holocaust. And also, we have no clue what would change in history had that not happened. The way that it happened. And that's the thing, that it doesn't make it right? It doesn't make it justified. It doesn't make it good that something happened and then another thing happened because of it, right? It doesn't make my grandfather, what happened to my mom is not acceptable because all of a sudden I was born. No, we have to hold the space for it. That was horrible. That was horrible. And that is what birthed forth this thing. And that's why I think it's so weird to really get caught in the good and bad of things, right? Because good literally cannot exist without bad. The moment you say the word good, you are also invoking bad, because that's how we know of things. Duality. There has to be two. When we talk about dark, there's also light that you're not talking about, right? So upon every death, there's a creation, right? And a lot of times when there's creation, there's death too, or destruction at least. So it's just a thought that I'm having as I learn to heal the beliefs and the ways that I coped with what happened to me, right? Because, for instance, My mom also hurt me when I was growing up, right? And so I took on a lot of things like, my feelings don't matter, my opinion doesn't matter, my voice doesn't matter, my body, my body stuff is not up to me, right? Other people could do to me whatever they want. And then I see that story play out a lot, right? I've been assaulted before. And that's like, oh, whoa, there's a moment where my boundaries were not respected, and I also just wasn't very standing firm in them. I was kind of like, no, I don't want to be here, but, right? Because of a story because of something that happened to me, but then the story that I told myself to continue it, right? And so the work now is being like, no, my voice matters. That's what we're doing. Healing is really unlearning the coping mechanisms, the patterns of thought, the beliefs, the stories that we have told ourselves because of what has happened to us. Healing is not changing what happened to us. We can't do that. And I think the sooner folks really come to recognize that you can't change what happened to you, then you can mourn, right? Then you can be like, wow, I never had the parents that I wanted. That's fucked up, and cry about it, right? I never heard the words of support that I wanted to hear growing up. I never got to say that thing, I really was hurt in this way and nobody saw me. And who gets to see you now? You. Because that's who you've been waiting for. You want who to recognize? You want your mom to recognize you. You want your dad to recognize you. You want all these other people to recognize you because you were taught that your recognition doesn't matter. So that's the one you need to go search for. Yours. Give it to you. Your story matters. Yo, Gary, your story matters. I'm here to listen to you. Please tell me the story. And it's funny because now I can be in this position of listening to my own story sometimes and being like, is that true? Do you still believe that? Because you're telling a story, but why do you tell it that way? It doesn't seem like it resonates the same. It seems like you're just regurgitating a story that you've been telling, which is often the case. Something I realized for myself is like, I'm rewriting my narrative because I will tell stories and be like, that's not how I want to say it. That doesn't resonate. That doesn't resonate. So it's really cool. It's been really cool to kind of loosen up on because when you're sitting here trying to take away things that happen to you, it feels impossible because it is. And it feels like ass. I just wish this never happened. I wish. Wishful thinking is very painful, right? Because you're wishing at things that are not possible. Whereas you can actually go and make changes. You can actually do things. You can actually change your thoughts and beliefs and patterns around the thing. So then you don't keep getting more of that, right? Because now I'm in a place of boundaries, right? Where I'm like, no. And people are also understanding that. So they're not coming to me with the bullshit. And even if they do, I'm quick to be like, no. Right? And it took me going through years of being fucking pushed around when it comes to my boundaries. It took years of me pushing other people around and losing people because of that. For me to understand, oh wait, there's a balance to this boundary game, right? So it's all just very cool, I think. And I think it doesn't have to be so painful, because it is. The work is painful. We're addressing things about us that nobody's ever held before. People still may not hold it, but it's also, it's really about how we're holding ourselves. How are you holding your own story? How are you honoring your own story, your own vulnerability, your rawness? What stories are you telling about what it means to be vulnerable and how you get honored in that? Yeah, just some thoughts. Enjoy the day.